Hello everybody, I'm going to be bringing you a tutorial video on how to kind of build new maps that you're not familiar with, how to approach going into a map that you've never played before. And since most of this guide is aimed at survival building, we are going to be starting on survival. Now you can apply a lot of these strategies to campaign, but it also requires a lot of restarting, don't forget. I'm going to have the advantage of already knowing how to build these maps, but we're going to go through the process and I'm just going to speed up a bit by saying I already know some things. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I like starting with my monk, as pretty much monk is always required for pretty much every single build. So now we're going to pop open our first chest, we're going to have some mana. Now we're going to say, okay, let's look at this map, let's see where everything is. I can see there's a crystal here in the middle, a crystal up that direction above me, there's a crystal over down there, and then there's a crystal over here, and then there's some spawns in between. Okay, so now we need to figure out how do we have to defend each crystal. Now most maps you're not going to be able to build near the spawns. There will be some maps where you can build everything near the spawn points and you can attack them as they're coming out of the spawn, but that really doesn't happen too much on survival, as that really spreads out your defenses way too much as enemies become really strong at the end. Okay, so we have one way to get to this crystal from here. There's no other way, they have to come through here, so we've got some nice choke points. We can either choke off right here, or we can choke off a lot closer to our crystal. The reason why we choose to choke off close to the crystal is if enemies come from the back here too. Notice there's a second way, so we say, oh look, there's two ways to get to that crystal. If we build the first choke somewhere around here, these towers can turn around and shoot anything that comes up and attacks the stairs potentially. But it will slow down our build compared to building out here. So that's what we're going to have to assess later on, is do we need to have everything right by the crystal, or can we have them near to the door, because also this door is very close to this crystal. So probably what we'll be doing is building the defenses for this crystal somewhere around the bottom of these stairs or somewhere in the middle. So we're saying, okay, we're gonna have to build somewhere around here anyways, so they should kill things and prevent them from going up the stairs there. And we can also place a little wall here too. So in that sense, now this crystal up here, we've now kind of been able to decide, okay, this crystal here, we can actually build our defenses down here because nothing's going to come up from the other side, because what we'll probably do is we'll probably make some sort of wall right here, and then we'll have attacking towers right here that kill everything coming out the door. Now this crystal, let's move on to finishing up this crystal. Let's see, attack paths here. Well, I don't see anything that's going to attack me. There's no spawns until I hit this crystal, so really there's nothing that's going to be coming from in the middle of this map here. So I really don't need to defend this way. This seems like it's more just a pathway for players. Of course there might be some spiders dropping in random places, but usually we're not too concerned about spiders because most of the time they're within the auras. The auras will kill them as well as any minions. Now we got a third attack path for this crystal is down these stairs. And if we go down these stairs we see a spawn point right here. There's nothing over that direction. So we've got a couple options here. Is one, we could look at building right here near the gate and killing things as they come out, or we can build up closer to the top of the stairs, and then if we're building stuff here, our towers or minions or whatever, they can still range from here and shoot over there for any ogres that choose to come down on this wall. So they can kind of help each other out, the towers, if we do that. And also we notice there's lots of room between the crystal and the top of the stairs, so we won't get our crystal getting destroyed by random ogre swipes. Now, we've got another problem though, is we've got a crystal down here and this door could go down here. Right now we don't know where do the enemies go. Do they all go this way, or do they split up equally? So for now we're going to have to build some defenses right here because we don't know really how they're going to split up. Part of the problem is how many defenses do we need to build in each place. Also for this crystal, now that we're going to finish off looking at this crystals, we've got one door right here. This door is going to be very simple. Basically we're going to build a choke point right here or here. What we want to do is we want to build it close enough to the crystal that potentially it can help with stuff coming from down here if needed, or you know. And the other thing too is auras. We only have so much DU for so many auras, and we like to keep our stuff contained within the auras, so a lot of times, you know, you try and fit everything in your auras. Now there's a lot of open space, a lot of air. We don't know where birds or wyverns are coming from, so for now we're just going to pretend that we don't know, and that's what we're going to need to find out real soon, otherwise the build will fall apart. So anyways, I've basically decided I'm going to build quite close to this crystal because I don't know if things are coming from down here. So we're going to start with some auras. see. Now I've got a few options where I want to build them. I can build it here, and that will cover the two different directions that I expect enemies to come from. Or I could kind of, you know, build it over here a bit more if I think most of them will come from that direction and not so many from this direction. Definitely don't want to build it back here. But in general, we're usually going to start by placing it somewhere near the crystal. Now, I already know a little bit about how this map spawns, so I'm just going to kind of cheat and place it somewhere that's, you know, a little more advantageous. Also, sometimes it's, yeah, okay. So what we're going to do is this one's just going to start off, we're going to start off with just the regular triple aura stack, because we don't know really anything better to do at the moment, because we don't really know the map too well. Okay, let's collect some more mana. Now this one we decided that we're going to have some enemies here coming down to attack us and enemies here. But this one, we're really not going to be able to cover too much with the aura. Even once this is expanded, it's just going to barely cover our towers. And this map has quite a bit of DU, so we're probably going to be able to get away with building a couple of aura stacks here. So now we want to try and make this so that it's not going to be stuck in the dark energy, because that just drains your aura health immediately. So you've got to be careful, and you got to think ahead, how much is this going to expand? So I'm going to build it somewhere right around, I don't know, somewhere around here. And then by the time it's expanded on the buff beam, it shouldn't be into the dark energy. Now I'm expecting my auras to expand about this much, maybe that much. So it looks like as if we've got a little bit of extra wiggle room to play with. Might need to move those later, might want to, just put them a little bit closer. The other nice thing too though is we're going to be able to kill a lot of spiders that try and come at our towers. We don't really care where they're coming from at the moment. Let's see now. Okay, once again trying to make sure that it won't end up inside of dark energy, and it looks like it will, which kind of sucks. So it's mainly that ensnare ore that I don't like having the dark energy, so I'm just going to shrink that one just a tiny bit. There we go. And now we're going to go up here. Once again, we don't want it in the dark energy, so let's find our sweet spot. And that looks like that'll be fine. So now we're going to go up to the last crystal here. We don't really understand how this crystal's going to work, but it kind of looks like as if there's nothing that's going to be coming in between these two. We don't see any spawn points, so we're going to kind of, you know, I'm going to assume that this is going to be where all the enemies are coming from, and because of that, you know, it's really nice to be able to put your stuff close to the enemy spawns whenever possible. So I'm going to put it here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to choke off the back here. I want to have enough range that my aura kills things before they get to the wall. So I'm going to put choke here, but the other thing is I move my aura back just a little bit extra just in case spiders and stuff are coming from up behind. That way it's defended there. It does look just a tiny bit close to the darkness energy as well once I'm on a buff beam. Okay, so there we go, that aura stack is now complete. Let's pick up another chest because we're starting to get low. Well, we're not low, but you know. Okay, this one, I'm not going to build any auras here because I really don't expect things to come there, even though it might be possible. And we're pretty much done with the auras. So now you can go look at, I like doing my EV next because I build buff beams to put minions on, and that creates my wall. So that kind of lets me know where my walls will be. So now first thing I'm going to want to do, let's zoom back in, and let's figure out the distance that I need to build from this crystal. So if I go, let's start a buff beam here, and whoop, 5 length, that's within range of the crystal for ogres. So I don't want to start my wall there. So if my wall is right here, let's say an ogre stands right here, there's the 5, that's just out of range of the crystal, so I know I can safely build my wall at that point right there. So let's try and use up as little DU as possible. Now, There's ogre choppers and stuff like that. We don't know where the ogre choppers are going to come from, and those can be a huge threat. So let's just build a reflect beam as a just in case. That's another thing we're going to have to look for too as well, is figure out bird flight paths as well as ogre choppers. Now this one we've got a couple options that are, one is we want to kind of build it down lower so that it's easier for these two walls to help defend each other. But at the same time, we also don't want to build it too low on the stairs, because then these enemies here, if they choose to go up this way, our towers won't be able to attack them. But I'm going to just start off by building a quick wall here, since we kind of decided we were just going to wall that off. Notice how I place it back a bit? That's just to make sure that Sharkin don't come and wind up and charge at it immediately. So I'm going to kind of go for a compromise and build halfway down the steps, and I'm pretty sure I can get away with a 4DU buff beam here and fit everything. So I'm going to try. I really don't expect ogre choppers to come out this door, so reflect beam is kind of optional here. The only thing would be is if you wanted like a reflect beam to deal with spiders. Also, I know I'm probably going to put some towers. It's just kind of a question of where do I want to put the towers, like regular attacking towers. And really the regular attacking towers, our only point in life is really going to be attacking the ogres or any flying things. Now if I put it right here, I can't hit both at once, which kind of sucks. If I put them out here, I can hit both at once. So that's what I'm going to try initially. Initially I'm just going to try, so I'll pre-build that, and of course might have some spiders coming after us. So put a reflect wall behind it, and hopefully that'll catch the spiders. Now the other option too you have is building, if we go like this, figure out our length of ogre clubs. So there's the length of ogre clubs right here. The other option we always have is building a buff beam this way or this way, so that way we can have a mage minion sitting right here, still on the buff beam, but able to heal the wall without being hit by ogres. But then again, right now we've got two different places we're trying to maximize, so for now we're not going to do that. Now if we come over here, we could build our towers right here to shoot everything, but then again, don't forget we do want a certain amount of aura. We want a certain amount of auras, killing all the trash mob that comes, so we only have to really deal with things like ogres. So what we're going to do, we're going to build it a little bit further back just for that reason. Just so that all our towers have to deal with is the ogres. Overhead things. And now let's figure out the range for our, in the back, mage. So now we're going to build a buff, and that's going to be used for any extra towers plus a mage minion. Woohoo! Okay, so this one now is going to be a little tricky in some ways, but we already decided. Let's figure out what our crystal range is. I'm wanting to build a wall right there. And that's in crystal range. Darn! Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to build an angled wall. 0. Or maybe not. Oh well. Anyways, let's see how well this will work. No, that won't work. Darn! Okay, so we can't really do that like I was hoping. Still like to try and get some... Okay, so that is definitely out of crystal reach right there. So I can do right here though. But that really isn't going to help us too much. It helps a little bit potentially. Depending, we can kind of trick that over and getting stuck on one side potentially. There's a few options you got for that. So, okay, so that's going to be just out of ogre range there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to angle this wall. That will help our ogres kind of get stuck down here. The angle should anyways. Now, we got a couple of interesting options. How do we want to do this? For the towers in the middle. Now, we could look at putting a buff beam somewhere around here. That's going to make it hard, though, with the crystal there to build. Instead, I'm just going to try... I really don't know what I'm going to try here. For the other towers. So let's not build them yet. Let's figure out where stuff's coming from. Let's figure out a little bit more, and then we'll go. Now usually you will start on easier waves, but I chose start on this wave just so I have all the mana and can build whatever I want. So now we're going to look at this crystal. Once again, I already kind of decided where my choke wants to be. Let's use that barrel. Put up some reflect beams this time. Oops. That one I made way too short. Man, I didn't realize Glitter had so many overhead things as well on it. Okay, so there's not too much else we need to do except that we're going to want to put some regular towers behind here. Okay, there's my buff beam range, so we're going to build. And of course, spiders might be coming from this direction. Really doesn't matter if they are or not. We'll build a reflect for now though, and then we can kind of look later, rather than having our stuff get webbed right away and then fixing afterwards. So that's kind of all that I'm going to do. Oh, totally forgot to reflect at the other crystal behind the towers. Okay, so now, there we go. Now we're kind of a little bit better protected from spiders in the back as well. Now we're going to look into doing our traps. Because pretty much towers and minions are pretty straightforward once you've kind of figured out where your buff beams are going. Sometimes I'll do traps last just because traps can also be one of those, you don't do them until the very end. So now we got two options here, is if you have high DPS on your traps, you can use a proximity mine trap, but it will require more repairing. Or if you've got lower stats, I highly suggest just using a gas trap. And the whole point of putting the trap down is to kill anything that your lightning aura can't kill in time. So I'm going to put a gas trap so that way things will never, other than ogres, will never get to the wall. And of course dew will get to the wall, but that's not the main point here. Now, we've also got another thing that we can consider too. On some maps, sometimes it'll be useful wherever your towers are to put a proximity mine trap covering them, and that will help kill spiders. We got the lightning auras here, they're going to be pretty big. We got the reflect beam, that should stall spiders long enough that they can't web this. Then again, you never know, in the future we might choose to put one there. Now, here, we could put a gas trap, but I feel like gas trap will just make this area way too slow. So we're going to go with the proximity mine trap. And we actually have to get it buffed though, is the problem. There we go, now it's buffed. Proximity mine trap for there. Down here, I could potentially use a gas trap, but one of the problems is I've got a... I don't know, we can see how the gas trap works out. So the edge of the range of the gas trap's right here, edge of our aura range without being buffed, so once it's buffed it'll cover. And since there's no physical towers up here, Sharkin will charge. Once this expands, it will get triggered easily. Okay, we're good with that gas trap. Looks like it will function as intended. Now, this one might be a little bit trickier to be able to use the gas trap, because we've got the problem if we put a gas trap anywhere here, my range is so ridiculously huge. Okay, so the edge of my gas trap activation is right here. It's outside of the aura range, and even with the buff beam, you're not going to cover too much of your gas with the auras, and that's a bad thing. So, either we're going to have to move the auras, or we're going to have to think of some other solution. I will use proximity mine traps, but if you have lower stats, that could become a problem. Then again, if you also have lower stats, your aura range probably won't be so huge. I mean your trap range, and you might be able to use gas traps there. So I will end up using proximity mine trap. Would be nice if I could cover both areas at the same time, but it's not going to cover them fully in the way that I want. So anyways, I'm going to build our proximity mine trap, and then for enemies coming from here, once again we got that problem where if we build the gas, we're not going to have the enemies dying inside of the aura. Okay, got one place left to do our traps for now. I'll be here, and here we can safely gas them. Once again, this is a really easy, safe place to gas. Sweet, there we go. Now let's move on to the towers, which will be then followed up by minions. So I will use harpoon towers since most people choose to use harpoons, but just to let you guys know, I usually do like using mage towers these days. Fireball towers, because most of the time you'll have strength drain auras. Anyways. Okay. Oops, wrong buff beam. The whole point of normal towers is just to distract ogres. Okay, now, even though I don't expect any enemies to be coming from the right side there, there's no point wasting my harpoon range by having it shoot against a wall, and plus spiders might come from there as well. So we're going to angle our harpoon. Hold on, what am I doing? Doing that all wrong. Let's start with this harpoon. So we're going to angle the harpoon so that it covers the wall fully, and then any extra range is going to be used for elsewhere. Okay, hopefully that's going to be far enough back that ogres won't club it. I'm not really certain. I didn't actually check. So there we go, the harpoons cover that. Now, the other thing that we do want to consider is this crystal. We don't know if any flyers are going to come here, any air. So for now, we're just going to build a harpoon in the back here. That's going to cover this from any potential air. Now, if air was coming in here, probably at about that angle. We're just gonna have it covered from air, just in case, pretty much. Now we're gonna go up to this one, and we can hit both. The way we've done this, we can hit both walls. Oh, hold on. I can totally fit 3 harpoons. What am I doing? Okay, I'll zoom out a bit just so you guys can see how it hits both walls. I do need to move it forward, make sure spiders don't get it. Whoa, we've already used up all of our DU. Okay. A little excessive on the auras. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell that guy. Also a little excessive on the buff beams might be another problem. Okay, we're going to leave 2 harpoons there. Now we haven't decided to build any towers down there yet, or what we will build, so I'm just going to skip up here and I'm going to build this. Now, note, let's see, I don't think there's really any way to efficiently... No, there really isn't. Any way to efficiently use that full amount of range. So there we go, we've got that. Got 5 DU left. So obviously, you know, we could look into removing a reflect beam. That's a nice easy choice. We could look into removing some auras that aren't needed. We could look into removing a buff beam that's not needed. Okay, so time to move on to the minions now. This part we'll just try and do as quick and dirty as possible. Minions, pretty basic. If there's a spot that doesn't get too many ogres, I'll skip a spider. But otherwise I will use 1 spider, a whole bunch of archers, and try and get a mage minion somewhere behind. Now I don't like putting my mage minions on the wall, because that often results in them taking a lot of damage from ogre clubs. See, this mage can now heal both walls. He's not going to kill a buff if he dies. Okay. That's totally not going to act wall tight. Now this is a really huge gap, so probably it's not going to be efficient to wall in with minions here. It's kind of what you should think, especially since we've already talked about the potential for those enemies up top going in 2 different directions. Oh, awesome. I don't think he's gonna get buffed. Oh, he is buffed. Okay, sweet. Okay. Ah. Sadly, the mage will not be able to reach both these at the same time, so we will definitely need to build 2 mages. And note, I'm going to do spiders later. Although I have a feeling that I'm going to run low on MU on this map, considering that I ran low on DU as well. Okay, so those walls are all done. Time to move on to this wall. Oops. Can I zoom in? Yay, I can zoom in a lot more. Okay, sweet. I am not going to run out, even though I am going to use up most of it. So I won't have too much left for spiders without changing. Anyways, we've got our basic build now. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to use the rest of the mana to finish upgrading. And then from there, I am going to start the wave, and we are going to watch to see what the enemy patterns are like and see if we need to change anything. So what we're going to start with is depending on how much mana you have, save some for upgrading auras, but pretty much all of it will be on the buff themes where the minions are, and that's just to make sure that they don't die when they get pummeled by ogres, as it does increase their resistance by quite a bit, upgrading the buff theme compared to no upgrades on it. Got 2 chests left to grab mana from over here. We got 1 more chest and 4 more walls, buff walls. Wow. Nope, 3 more. Good. I already got that one. Got the 2 down here, and then we'll be good to go, and we'll pull out a DPS just as a kind of precaution. Now note, there will be no ogre choppers as this is the first wave of survival, so we'll have to wait until next wave find out, but then again we are going to reassess our build throughout the wave, so that doesn't matter anyways. Okay, so I've got a couple places I really want to watch. I'm not too concerned about this spawn point or the one that's way over there. I am worried about how do enemies come out of this spawn point. And it looks like, as if I guessed wrong, all of them do come up here so far. I haven't seen any go over there, so I wasted a whole bunch of my tower resources building this wall right here. Okay. So far, looking at the map, in the middle there is absolutely nothing that's coming. Oh, there are some birds coming there. Okay, now are the birds going to come to this crystal or what? It's hard to say. Can't make up their mind. No, and it looks like as if the birds are going to go to that crystal, so it's a good thing I have that harpoon there. That definitely paid off, a little bit of foresight, but I knew that was going to happen as well. Okay, this crystal, obviously it should be doing quite fine without help, but now that I know that this harpoon is going to be needed here, and that there's birds coming from there, I'm going to have to make sure that no spiders spawn somewhere where they can get it. Come on, spiders, spawn. Oh, whatever. I'll just stand. Whoa! And I just got it webbed by standing here. But then again, it might get webbed without me standing here. I can't afford it to get webbed, so we're going to end up putting a reflect wall in front of it most likely. Keeping an eye on the map, we can still see all the units from that other door are streaming towards the nearest defenses and then are going down below. So, still no extra spiders spawning here. I don't see any other air spawning yet on the map, so right now I've only got this one wyvern flight path to worry about. Wow, that spider would like super ninja dodge the harpoon. That was really funny. Well, I do see air coming from the bottom. Now in the one direction we're perfectly fine, but in the other directions, thankfully I placed my aura in a smart position to deal with them. Those ones right there that just died. But now I know that I do need to deal with them. So I've got a couple options. My auras will pretty much kill them throughout all the maps, but it might be worth considering placing a tower, might not be. The only problem with keeping them covered by the aura, obviously, is how much of this area gets covered by the aura. Will then be an issue. So now it's time to redesign our build. We figured out all of the air flight paths, we figured out any potential problems with pathing from the doors, we figured out problems with spiders. That's the last one. Okay, so this one, pretty good. I don't see any major flaws here. You know, looks like this one's going to be pretty good. These harpoons, so far I don't see any problem with them. The wyverns aren't coming this direction, so I don't need them facing the other way. Coming out of this gate, I really doubt I need to change much here. That's pretty basic, all predetermined. As well, this gate's pretty basic, pretty predetermined. The only thing that I'm going to need to assess is, I'm going to need to assess in the future, because I'm getting close to using up all of my DU, I'm going to have to look at this and say, okay, which areas get hit hardest by the ogres so I can put more stuff there. That's going to be about the only thing. Okay, so now let's go and wall this bad boy in with a reflector too. Let's see if I can get... Oh yeah, I can get the whole thing covered with one reflector. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Shouldn't have to worry about spiders. If we do, we're in trouble. Really nothing up there to change, nothing else here to change. We've got it protected now from the birds. And now the only thing is to redistribute or change that other bottom area for the birds. Now I'm not going to move the auras too much, but I will move them just a little bit. A couple things that I want to point out here is, we've decided all the enemies come from this door, come here, which means we don't need any defenses down here. Well, that's a risk. I'm not willing to take that risk every single game, that there's never going to be enemies coming from down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my aura so that it also helps protect